Good evening. This is December 14th, 2023, and many of my videos are about how DHS Oregon has treated my wife and I, my family, our children, and the abuse, the corruption, the mean-spirited, the cruelty, the manipulation, just this really evil thing that is the spirit of DHS and DHS workers. And if you don't think that describes you and you're a DHS worker, then you need to just get out of the program, because that is what DHS is about. It's completely about making money off trafficking children. They don't get the federal Title IV-E funds unless they remove children from their homes. All the incentive is to take children out, find a place to place them, and then make money off them for lawyers, for doctors, for counselors, for SSA workers, for transport, for all kinds of special needs they claim, and charge as much money against that child as possible. And I guarantee you it's more than $10,000 a month cash flow that is made off each child taken into foster care. So many of my videos have been what we've gone through, but I want to start talking about other cases that I know about. And today I want to talk about the case down in Springfield, Oregon, that happened, I believe, in 2018. A little boy was in a foster home with two women who lived together, and there was a little boy in the foster home. It was a hot day in August, and there were other foster children in that foster home at the same time. I believe the little boy was about 2 years old. The little boy was put away in a room for the night where there was a dysfunctional air conditioner. The two women did not check on him, and by early morning hours of sometime in the morning, during the night, they checked on the boy, and he was not responsive, and he was dead from heat, stroke, dehydration, excessive heat in the room. And I remember that day because it was hot, and it was like in the upper 90s, something like that. And so it was already a hot situation, and if the room wasn't properly ventilated or cooled, it was going to, and depending whether it was on the sunny side of the house or the upstairs or wherever, it was going to be hot. You could understand how it could be really hot. So this little boy died, and I believe that the family sued the state, and they did get a settlement. But word has it that there was a little Hispanic girl who was also in that room, but was not in the article in the Springfield paper, but that she did in fact exist. The word is that her father was Hispanic and in jail, and her mother was Hispanic and didn't speak any English. And she went into a coma, and that she was in a coma for a number of days. And DHS told the family that, well, if you want to keep her on life support and pay for it, you can, but otherwise we're pulling the plug. Now, this is information that I heard through various channels, and that there was an official police report that mentions that the girl was there and that the girl was transported to the hospital. But there's no mention of it in the newspaper article, okay? Just the article says, on this day the boy died, and that was it. Well, if the girl died a couple days later when she was pulled off life support, then it didn't happen the same day as far as her passing away, and it was never mentioned again, if in fact this occurred. Now, it's my understanding that the supervisor was married, the DHS supervisor who worked above the caseworker was married to the detective that investigated the situation where this boy died. And when there is a boy or girl, a child dies in Oregon in foster care, there's supposed to be a CIRT, which is a critical incident report, filled out and filed. And I and other people searched to find out if there was any CIRT that was ever filed either on the death of the little boy or on this mystery girl that was potentially there and passed away. Now, some people requested a copy of the police report from the Springfield Police Department, but the Springfield Police Department wouldn't give it to them to find out where it mentioned about this little girl going into a coma. And so if in fact this little girl was there and went into a coma, then DHS has covered it up. The Springfield Police Department has covered it up. And it appeared that they ruled that the death of the little boy was an accident. And if it's an accident, they could somehow wiggle around filling out a CIRT. But there was discussion that it wasn't an accident, that it was gross negligence on the part of the two women that lived in the home together that had these foster kids. So the state paid a sizable settlement out to the parents of the little boy. There's no mention anywhere in available official records, apart what's been rumored about the police report, about this Hispanic girl. And I've known about this for quite a long time and made different avenues to try to find out more, because I believed that the girl, if she did exist and if she died, she should not be without a name. The mother and father should not be without a name, and that there should be some honor given to the fact that she lived and she was here on the earth and she died and nobody cares about her or her mom and dad. And this, if it is in fact true, is classic DHS. Now you remember Governor Brown, when it was coming up for her re-election, she postponed the reporting of deaths in foster care till after her own election. Oregon is one of the most extremely corrupt states in the United States. It's really, really corrupt. And DHS is one of the typical agencies. I mean, there's anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000 kids in foster care at any time. There's about $10,000 a month or more being pulled down in the name of each one of these kids per month. And it's a massive child trafficking, cash for kids mafia. It's a really evil thing, and you would have to talk to the mothers and the fathers of these children who have had their children taken and how they are treated by DHS workers, case workers who have very little background or training, who are just picked out of the blue. From what we can see, based on how mean and evil of a bitch they can be, and they are let loose to go rogue on parents and children. And so anybody out there that has any information on anything about the possibility that there was a little Hispanic girl who passed away in August of 2018, I believe it was, in the summer. At the same time, this little boy passed away. So it happened it was an 18-month-old boy, and it happened On August 16th, 2018, KVAL, the Springfield paper, have articles about it. The Lane County DA said that it wasn't criminal, and so nothing's going to be done. While tragic, not criminal. The Oregon Department of Human Services declined to comment on the case. That's what we have. We don't have any further information. Like I say, it's been rumored that it is mentioned in the police report. Probably why the Springfield police are not interested in releasing the unredacted police report. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this because it's bothered me for a very long time that if there was a girl in this room that also died as a result of heat, and it's never mentioned and the public doesn't know about it, and if there was a settlement to the mother, so forth, but it should be public information. And from what I've heard from people familiar with the case, the DHS office in Eugene, Springfield covered it up. The girl was said to have died a number of days later after she was taken off life support. And so nobody was asking questions at the time, and it was just, she went to a mortuary somewhere. Somebody knows that can hook these stories together if it happened and help get the word out to see if there was in fact a little Hispanic girl that ended up dying from that same situation in August of 2018. Thank you. Horrible, horrible things have been done to families in Oregon at the hands of DHS. Parents have seen their children taken away on very minor details and never been reunified with their children, and had their children adopted out and lost complete contact with them. This is one of the most evil things imaginable that can be done to a family. And yet, so many people know about it and won't talk. So many churches cooperate with the process that DHS does destroying families, and they are not confronted for their cooperation with this very evil organization in the state government. These children are trafficked, marriages come apart, people's lives come apart, fathers and mothers are disastrously affected, their families are destroyed, their economics are destroyed. And I know of so many families who have contacted me and written to me about the just utterly horrible things that have been done to them by DHS. There's medical kidnapping, where doctors are incentivized, nurses, and they state that a child's injuries are due to neglect or intentional injury, when in fact they have no real proof of it. It was like all that went on about the shaken baby syndrome. And people were put in prison, and children have been taken away for medical kidnapping. And oftentimes one of the tactics of DHS is to split up the family. If you get a restraining order against your husband or boyfriend, we'll give you the kids back. If you get divorced, we'll give you the kids back. The fact that you haven't divorced shows that you really don't want your kids back. This is nonstop. I have never in my life, and I have been all over the world in some very difficult places, and I have never in my life met people who are so satanic and demonically evil as the workers at DHS Oregon. And I have lived in places all over the world. And yet, for a prosperous, semi-prosperous country, as America goes in decline, still has so much going for it. And then to have these absolutely evil, cruel people working in DHS, mostly women, being as brutal as they can to other women, doing things that are just like taking a knife and sticking it in a woman's gut and twisting the blade. That is how extensive their cruelty is to other women. These DHS caseworkers, supervisors, SSAs, the whole lot of them. And so if your life has been crushed by DHS, send us an email, dhsorgan.com. Tell us your story. The more people who become loud and speak out about these evil bastards, the better. If your church is involved and has people who are foster parents, speak up. Because DHS is not going to tell these foster parents what's going on, or they're going to incentivize them and say, just play along and we'll get the baby to you. You'll be able to adopt. And all these churches have their hands out to adopt a kid that's taken from some home that has or doesn't have difficulties, and nobody is trying to work to make sure those children get back with their mother and father. In our case, reunification was the plan in Dallas, Oregon for more than 5 years. And DHS cannot show in any document that they ever encouraged any of the children to go home. In fact, the 4 children who aged out told repeatedly how DHS tried to incentivize them not to go home. You'll lose funding. We'll buy you this. We'll get you housing. We'll get you education. If you don't go home, you'll lose all that. These evil, satanic people from the DHS office in Dallas, Oregon. Yes, you. That's who I'm talking about. Well, to all you mothers out there and fathers who have been absolutely tortured by this organization, I've been listening to your stories for 6 years now. My heart goes out to you. I give you encouragement where I can. Keep fighting. Tell your story. Never be silent. The mainstream media is not going to cover your story. You have to use alternative media sites. And as time goes by, I will tell as many of your stories as you give me permission to tell. Thank you. Take care. And may God bless and comfort your lives as you survive these tragedies.